If you've ever left a doctor's office feeling dismissed, confused, or like, that wasn't helpful, you are not alone. One of the hardest parts of fibromyalgia isn't just the symptoms. It's feeling like nobody knows what to do with you. You're handed a diagnosis, a pamphlet, maybe even a prescription, but nobody explains how you're supposed to get your life back. And after hearing "get used to your new normal" enough times, you might start to believe it. Maybe this really is as good as it gets. But here's the thing. A lack of answers is not the same as a lack of options. And just because one person or even a lot of people couldn't help you, that doesn't mean you can't be helped at all. Because this really isn't about managing your fibromyalgia. It's about getting your life back. Welcome to the Fibromyalgia Podcast. I'm Tami Stackelhouse, fibromyalgia coach, author, and founder of the International Fibromyalgia Coaching Institute. The goal of this podcast is to empower you with access to the dream team of experts and coaches I've discovered are key to living the fibro life you love. From the comfort of your own home, and maybe even your pajamas, I'll help you take back control of your life and health. To help out with fibro fog, I always include full show notes and additional resources at fibromyalgiapodcast.com. Hi, I'm your coach, Tami Stackelhouse, and this is episode 186. Today, we're talking about what it actually means when your doctor doesn't have answers for you and why you can still get your life back. You know, I got a text message from a friend a month or so ago, and she just casually mentions that she was just diagnosed with fibromyalgia. And of course, she knew where to go for help. But the next thing she said really stuck with me. She said, "They're giving me pamphlets." And I'll be honest, I just rolled my eyes and replied to her and said, because pamphlets are so good at managing pain. But you know, that's exactly what this feels like for so many people. Now, maybe you weren't given pamphlets, maybe you were handed a prescription, or maybe you were handed a diagnosis and that was it. When I asked her what the treatment plan was, she said, "I don't know. I guess I have an appointment in a couple of months, but that's all they gave me." It's so sad that this is not an unusual situation. And when these kinds of things keep happening over and over, when you're diagnosed or you go to the doctor, maybe you don't even have a diagnosis yet, and you're going to the doctor and saying, "Hey, I'm really tired and I really hurt and my brain doesn't work right," and it's sort of dismissed. Or maybe you go to the doctor and you actually get a diagnosis, but I hear this quite often. You're then told, "But I don't treat fibromyalgia." Or maybe you even do get a doctor who does diagnose you, who does treat fibromyalgia. They're doing the best they can. We'll get to this in a minute, but you feel like you're treading water. Your life starts shrinking. And instead of continuing to ask for your life back, you start asking for less and less. You start hearing, like I said at the beginning, "Get used to your new normal," or "Your lab tests are normal," or whatever else, right? There's not much else we can do for you. You start to believe that. And so you start to feel like nobody actually knows what to do with you. And so therefore, there isn't anything that can be done for you. That's what today's episode is all about. Why that's actually not true. So let me explain a little bit what's happening here. I'm not saying your doctor isn't knowledgeable. I'm just saying that most doctors don't understand fibromyalgia at the same level as somebody who knows how to treat it effectively. And I'm not a doctor, but I do have a lot of knowledge and I can help fill the gap here for you. So what's actually happening is If a doctor is not fully familiar with fibromyalgia, they're probably going to look it up on their computer. What do I do for somebody who has fibromyalgia? And they might see a listing of medications, right? We're going to see the 3 FDA approved fibromeds. We're going to see Cymbalta. We're going to see Savella. We're going to see Lyrica. Now we have a 4th, right? They probably won't be seeing Tonmya on the list yet. Maybe not. It's still too new. But they're looking at this list and they're like, okay, let's try this. They might understand, well, eating better, moving more. That's kind of the answer for most things in life. So we'll tell you to do that too, without understanding that fibromyalgia has specific requirements when it comes to what you eat and how you move, right? We also know, stress is bad for us. So let's also talk about how to better manage stress in your life, because stress is going to make that so much better. And that is true. It does. But a referral to counseling, when you actually need treatment for fibromyalgia, is not equal. You might need both. I'm totally not dismissing counseling. It is an important factor, especially if there's trauma that is influencing your fibromyalgia symptoms, but it is not a replacement for fibromyalgia treatment at all. No one is out there fully connecting all of the dots for you. And in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to talk about my 3-legged stool analogy, right? If you've got a stool that has 3 legs, you kind of need all 3 legs or it doesn't work. And we're going to be talking about that and how that applies to fibromyalgia in another couple of weeks. So nobody's actually connecting all those dots, maybe not even connecting how all of these other conditions that you have actually are contributing to your fibromyalgia symptoms. And that it's really not just one thing here, one thing there, another thing over here, but it's actually one whole thing. You're given pieces, right? But nobody's showing you how to put them all together. And again, we'll come back to this, but nobody's showing you how to get your life back, which is really what it's all about. So let's talk about why this is happening, right? This is not because doctors don't care, right? It's not because they're bad doctors. And I want to be super, super clear on this. There are bad doctors out there. That is not who I'm talking about. What I'm talking about today are those good doctors who really do care and just don't have the training. And there's a reason they don't have the training. Even though we've known about fibromyalgia for over 200 years, we can actually see a full description of fibromyalgia that is in medical literature over 200 years ago. In spite of that, and maybe even because it's kind of been seen as a hysterical woman's illness, that is changing, but for most of those 200 years, that is how it was seen. There hasn't been a lot of research, right? So the proof of that, the fact that there hasn't been a lot of research or enough research, we can look at the studies that have been published in medical literature. This is going to sound funny, but there was a study on how many studies were done. So someone actually looked to see how many articles have been published about fibromyalgia research. And they compared that to other types of conditions that might be diagnosed by a rheumatologist, right? So they're looking at things like lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, Sjogren's, scleroderma, all these things that you might be diagnosed with at a rheumatologist. They compared all of that literature. And then they also looked at how many people are actually diagnosed with that condition. They found fibromyalgia is tied for last. We are actually tied with scleroderma. That might be a condition you know about, but more likely, probably it's one you don't know about. And we are tied for last in terms of published research in rheumatological journals. Now, they looked at all of this picture and said, there are 17 times more studies published on rheumatoid arthritis. But here's the thing. There are 17 times as many people diagnosed with fibromyalgia as with RA. So it's literally backwards, right? So when we don't have research like that, then there isn't information for our doctors to be taught in medical school. That's where medical school curriculum comes from, is all this research, the things that we're learning, the information that we have proven in studies, right? So because we don't have that, it's not really being taught in medical school. In addition to that, pain management training just as a whole is also undertaught, let's say. They're not teaching enough of it. Here in the United States, it's an average of about 9 hours of training in medical school for pain management. Now, obviously, if a doctor decides to specialize in emergency medicine or other types of things, they might learn a whole lot more. But just like your basic doctor going through med school, graduating, before they go on and do, all their extra training, their practice, right, with patients, it's 9 hours. And that is all pain management. That's pain management if you have a surgery, if you break your leg, if you had a bad burn, fibromyalgia, chronic low back pain, all pain, 9 hours, right? That's not even 9 hours of fibromyalgia. Definitely not. Not even 9 hours of chronic pain management. That's all pain management. So our providers really just aren't being taught what they need to know what to do with us, right? And so they're doing their absolute best with incomplete information. And again, to be totally fair, like if you think about your primary care doctor, they have to know about so many things, right? You literally cannot teach everything under the sun to a 4-year med student. You just can't. Right? So a lot of times what we do is we give them, an inch deep and a mile wide, right? We give them a little bit of information on a lot of things, which is why you might have somebody who says, you have fibromyalgia, I'm diagnosing you, but I can't treat you, because they know enough to diagnose you, but they don't know how to treat you. I mean, you can see with the picture I'm painting here how that could potentially be true, right? Now, here's the good news. While it is true, most likely your doctor has not been trained in what to do with you, that doesn't mean that there aren't answers. And this is what I meant at the beginning about just because somebody hasn't helped you, or even a lot of people haven't helped you, that doesn't mean that nobody can help you. It just means they didn't know. Okay? So your doctor not having answers or telling you there's not much else we can do, that does not mean that you have actually tried everything. You've just tried everything they know and everything you know. It also doesn't mean that your situation is hopeless, right? A lack of answers does not equal a lack of options. It just means the person you're asking the questions to doesn't have the answer. I'll give you an example. My husband is a computer engineer. He actually designs computer chips. And if you saw the Artemis, the crew capsule, all the things, right, over the last couple of months, he helped design the GPS for the Orion crew capsule, right? So he is a really smart guy. But there is a lot of stuff, even a lot of computer stuff, that I can ask him and he's not going to know. Just because he's super smart, he's an engineer, he can design all these crazy things, right, to make rockets go into space and bring people back safely, doesn't mean he knows everything. And that's the same with your doctor. They may be amazing doctors. I'm not saying get rid of your doctor, although I am saying get rid of your doctor if it's a terrible doctor, but that's a different podcast episode. We'll talk about that actually a little bit more next week. But they don't know just means they don't know. So that does mean for you as a patient, you have to become an expert. And it's kind of sad that it is this way, but it is this way. I recently had to get tires put on my car. I don't need to know how to change tires. I can go to the tire store and I can have them do it for me. But as patients, we kind of don't have that luxury. We kind of have to become experts anyway. right? And I want to be super clear about something here. There is so much that can be done to help people with fibromyalgia. You do not have to stay feeling the way that you do right now. And I 100% believe to the core of my being, you can feel better than you do right now, no matter how good you feel or how bad you feel. I have not had any fibromyalgia pain since 2018. So it's been almost 10 years now. And I am still amazed that I keep feeling better and better. It doesn't matter who you are. There's always things that can be done to help you feel better. And that is true for you and your fibromyalgia, even if your doctor has said there's nothing else that can be done, because your doctor doesn't know everything. They can't know everything. They're not God. So, at the end of the day, let's talk about what you actually need here, right? And like I said at the beginning, this is actually not about managing your fibromyalgia, okay? That word, managing fibromyalgia, to me, I don't know, it's actually starting to grate on me just a little bit, because when you manage something, that's like we're trying to keep the bucket from spilling over. But what we really want to do is empty the bucket. Does that make sense, what I'm saying? Managing fibromyalgia, yes, absolutely. That is often the very first step, is to get things under control, get things managed. I would even say my fibromyalgia is managed, right? Because there is no cure for fibromyalgia, right? If I do all the wrong things, I absolutely know I will feel like I felt years ago. If I keep doing the right things, though, I can keep it so well managed that it's actually in remission. And just to be clear, too, that word remission, that's a medical diagnosis that came from my doctor. That wasn't just a word I chose, okay? So managing fibromyalgia, yes, that's the first step, but it's not the only step. We don't want to just manage your fibromyalgia. We want you to live your life. We want you to get your life back. I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but I have the privilege of talking to med students a couple times a year, right? I get invited down to Oregon Health and Science University. Started doing it when I still lived in Portland, but since it's only 3 hours from Seattle, I still drive back for this. And I get to be part of a panel that talks with usually third, fourth year medical students. The main thing I want to get across every time I'm there is that every conversation those doctors have with you as a patient is about your ability to live your life. It doesn't matter if we're talking about changing your medication. It doesn't matter if they're recommending acupuncture or physical therapy. It doesn't matter if they're talking about recommending that you change your diet in certain ways. Whatever it is, that conversation is about your ability to live your life. And I want to be super clear, and I want them to take that away, right? If they learn nothing else out of that class, that panel discussion, that's what I want them to know. Every single conversation they have with a chronic pain patient is about your ability to live your life. So this isn't about collecting more advice. This isn't about, asking a million people, what should I do? Because you'll get a million different answers. Some of them will be good. Some of them won't be good. And some of them will be good, but just not right for you. So what you actually need right now, number one, is a whole lot of clarity. What is actually going on within your body? What do you actually need, right? Who are you really? Like your personality, your heart's desires, how you want to live your life, the practicality of, are you somebody that just hates to cook, right? We can't tell you to make healthy meals at home if you have never cooked, hate to cook, never want to cook. That's like a failure from the get-go. By the way, I am that person. I'm not calling anybody out unless you consider I'm calling myself out here. But we need to know who you are. We need to know your real life. We need to look at your real fibro body that you're living in right now today and what she needs from you. Maybe that's actually rest and not exercise. Maybe that's more food, not less food. Sometimes it's really counterintuitive. So that's the first thing. We need clarity. Then once we have that clarity, we need a direction. One of my mentors has always used the analogy of a swimming pool. You have a person in the middle of the swimming pool. They are really trying to get out of the swimming pool, and they'll swim a little bit one direction, and then they'll change directions and swim a little bit the other way. And they never actually get to the outside edges because they're just kind of moving around in the middle of that swimming pool and never getting to the outside. I see that in so many of the people I talk to. You are trying this thing, then that thing, and then you hear about this diet, and then you hear about nervous system regulation, and then you hear about this other medication somebody tried, and then maybe what about this therapy? And you don't stick with things long enough or stack them together in the right way or try them at the right time so it works for you and your body, right? So we need a direction. We need to understand how all this information actually applies to you, to your life, to your body. We need to understand what actually might work for you. Just because something worked for somebody else doesn't mean it's the right thing for you. And as I talked about when I was discussing the fibro hierarchy of needs, sometimes what works for somebody else could actually set you back and make you feel worse. So we need that clarity. We need that direction. We need that understanding of how all this applies to you. We need that understanding of what might actually work for you in the right order, at the right time, in the right sequence. And we do need somebody to help connect the dots, right? I always tell people, you have got to have a fibro expert on your team, but it may not be your doctor. And that's okay. There are lots of times where I am working with a client and I'm the fibro expert on the team, and I educate them and their doctors through providing research, articles to read, books to recommend, all kinds of other things. And now it's really exciting because our certified fibromyalgia advisor and certified fibromyalgia coach training programs are now approved for ANCC accredited continuing education. That means nurses, physical therapists, even some doctors potentially can take our training programs, learn about fibromyalgia, and meet their continuing education requirements. So you need that fibro expert on your team. But yes, you need a medical expert on your team too, because we are not doctors. We are not trying to replace your doctor. You need to have that team, that fibro expert, that doctor, maybe even a team of providers all working to get you where you need to be. I have always joked that it takes a village to keep Tami happy because it's true. It is true. My massage therapist, my chiropractor, my acupuncturist, my neurologist. I could go on and on. There's a whole team of them. And that's okay, right? Because at the end of the day, remember, it's about your ability to go out and live your life again. And my fibromyalgia is in remission, so I don't care how many people that takes. It was a journey getting here. And now I don't need to see quite as many people as I used to. It's true. But whatever it takes. So as we kind of start to wrap this up a little bit, you might have started realizing that maybe you've been trying to piece this together on your own and you're exhausted because it is a lot of work. I would recommend that where you start right now is with understanding who you are at a really fundamental level and understanding your body that you have right now, today. Not how your body used to be, not how you wish your body was, not even your body on a good day, because not every day is a good day. We need to understand where you're really at And one of the things that can really help that you may not have looked at is our Fibromyalgia Wellness Style Quiz. This is basically a personality test, so it's fun. Playmakers, it's fun. It's fun. So go and take it. It's a super quick quiz. It looks at your personality and how that impacts how you address your fibromyalgia. So the strengths that you naturally have, for instance, are prevailers. Part of their personality traits is that they do the thing day after day after day. They prevail. That's why they're called prevailers, right? So that is a strength for them. For me, as a playmaker, I'll do it if it's fun, but if it's not fun, I can really struggle with it, right? So your natural strengths. We're also going to look at what your natural challenges are. And I just mentioned one of mine, right? If things aren't fun, I find them really, really difficult to do. I know that about myself. And so I figure out ways to make it fun. Or if it's never, ever going to be fun, I figure out how I can maybe not do it. Whether that's, things like using Hungry Root, for example. I mentioned I'm not one of those people that really likes to cook. So Hungry Root makes it super easy for me. Their recipes are literally 5 and 10 minutes long. Things like heat the rice bag in the microwave for 90 seconds and warm up the meat that's already cooked kind of deal. So we'll link to that in today's show notes. If you haven't checked out Hungry Root and you're like me, you don't like to cook, it is a great option. But back to our quiz. You will get to know what your natural strengths are and what your natural challenges are. There is a free email series you can sign up for after you take the quiz. And I will send you, it's like an email a day for, I think, 5 days maybe. And I'll tell you, this is most likely what's going to cause a fibro flare for you. This is most likely what's going to be impacting your brain fog, your pain, your sleep, all the things. Okay. So go take that Fibromyalgia Wellness Style Quiz. That is a really, really great place to start. You can do that just at fibroquiz.com. We'll also have that linked in today's show notes. And I did want to share, I got this great email from someone right after the quiz came out, and I wanted to share it with you. This is from Kim. She says, "This quiz absolutely resonated with me. The questions sounded like all the things I would want someone to know about myself when developing a treatment plan. I'm actually crying now, knowing that there is someone out there who truly understands." That's from Kim, and she's a perfectionist, by the way. This is something I hear over and over again. Oh my goodness, that is so me. How did you know? I feel so seen and understood. So if you need a little bit of that in your life, go take the quiz. We'll be happy to help you. Now, I just want to kind of bring us back to Fibromyalgia Awareness Day for a minute. And I think this is what I want more people really to understand. Fibromyalgia awareness isn't really about us who have fibromyalgia. We are more than aware. You understand fibromyalgia. What we actually need is the rest of the world to catch up with us. We need everybody else to be more aware. The other thing I think every year on Fibromyalgia Awareness Day is that awareness itself is not the end goal. Yes, it is important that the rest of the world catches up with us and is understanding of what fibromyalgia is and that it exists and all of these things. But as patients, what we really want is to feel better, right? We want our lives back. This is about so much more than symptom management. So if you have been feeling like, I don't know, like you're treading water, but not actually getting anywhere. That's how I felt, right? When my doctor was managing my fibromyalgia at first, it's like, yeah, these medications are helping. I'm not getting worse, but I'm not really getting better either. And my life is so small. If you find yourself thinking that, that's what today is all about. And in the next few episodes, I'm going to give you a little bit more information on what good care should actually look like, on what a lot of people are missing. Remember that three-legged stool? We'll talk about that. And I'll give you a little bit more information and a little bit more direction to go, right? So next week, I'm actually going to talk about a recent medical experience that I had. And if you heard last week's episode, it's actually about that. If you haven't, go check out last week's episode in the meantime about uncertainty and how it affects us. So I will share about that medical experience and what that actually taught me about good medical care. Oh my goodness. It was not a fun experience, but it was also the most amazing experience I have ever had with medical providers. I'll be sharing that next week. And in the meantime, don't assume that just because you don't have answers yet, those answers don't exist. I'll see you back here next time. And that wraps up another episode of the Fibromyalgia Podcast. I'm your coach, Tami Stackelhouse. For daily doses of hope, inspiration, and practical advice, come hang out with me on Facebook. Visit facebook.com/fibrocoach to find my personal coaching page and connect with me directly. To find the show notes, additional resources, or to schedule a consultation with me or one of my coaches, visit fibromyalgiapodcast.com.